Having on the air right now former Marine bodybuilder and current fitness instructor and actor Aaron Williamson. I'm sorry, Aaron. What's going on?
What's up, Matt? How you doing, man?
Everything's going great. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we prevailed. We got everything good. I wanted to have you on the show. I'm happy as anything to have you on Patriots Corner.
It's awesome, man. You got a good thing going, so I'm happy to do it with you.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that, sir. So now, Aaron, where are you? You're in Hollywood as of right now, right? You've had an amazing journey.
Yeah, it's to put it lightly. Yeah, it's been one hell of a road. But yeah, I live in Hollywood. That's where I'm at. I've been here now for about a little over a year. I moved from New Orleans back in 2015.
Wow. Now, obviously, you didn't start. You said you moved to Hollywood from New Orleans. Now, where did you all start? You were a former United States Marine. So, one, I want to thank you for your service, and two, I'd like to ask, where did that all begin? What made you want to join the Marine Corps?
Growing up in a kind of a broken, I don't say broken home, but just, a lot of problems, family-wise, and yeah, I lost direction of where my life was going, and I almost died in 7th grade from overdosing on drugs and really bad times. So it was kind of a last option for me. I really didn't have anything else going, so the military was the option that was on the table, and just oddly in my mind, I had the Marine Corps. In the back of my head, just thinking if I'm going to do it, I might as well do the best of the best. And, besides, everyone kept telling me I couldn't do it. So that was kind of the motivation for it.
Now, when you were going through the struggle as a young kid and you decided that you were going to enlist in the Marine Corps, did you, before you went to Parris Island for boot camp, did you think to yourself that this is, did you have a lot of thought prior to, this is now my life, this is something that I want to do because I am going to, make myself better from it? Or was it simply just more of a, as you said, as a last resort, which later then became, an amazing job?
Yeah, it wasn't. I really didn't have much thought about it. I went into it blindly. The recruiters talk it up, make it seem, pretty awesome, but they don't get too much into the weeds of it, not into the details. So I knew I was in for a rude awakening when I showed up at Parris Island and got on the yellow footprints and looked at the first drill instructor straight in the face, straight in the eyes, and I got a reality check real quick because that's something you don't do. And then, from then on, I knew that I was in for something. But little did I know it would pull out some things inside of me, some qualities that I had that I didn't know. So in essence, the Marine Corps became my salvation. So that's part of why I'm so heavily involved in military work, because without the Marine Corps, without the military, I wouldn't, who knows? I don't even know if I'd be alive, honestly.
Yeah. Now, when you first got to Parris Island and you started going through the training, because a couple of my friends I went to high school with are Marines active as of right now, and they tell me all the time that the training is so intense. Was there any time during boot camp when you said to yourself, why am I doing this? Did you ever want to quit?
No, not one single time did I want to quit. Ironically for me, because I had never been physically and mentally challenged like that before, I kind of thrived off of it because it allowed me to push myself to limits that I didn't know I had. And, sickly, I enjoyed the pain of it, to be able to surpass other people, and it was almost like when I saw other people getting tired and struggling, it was almost like I was able to feed off of that to push myself past my own fatigue and pain. because I just wanted to be the best that I could. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to, I just wanted to shine. So, but no, I mean, there were some rough times, when you're sleeping at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and they come in and throw trash cans and wake you up, and from a dead sleep you go outside into a sand pit and start exercising for 30 minutes. It's not fun, but at the same time you're not a civilian anymore, and the lifestyle is different, and it's just a matter of like the mindset. When you go in, what are you going to do with it? If you're going to go into it with a normal mindset, then you're going to hate it. But if you go into it with no expectations, not knowing what to take out of it, then I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, of course. And I feel like a lot of people who I've had on Patriots Corner already, say the same thing, and just what you said, just gaining from it. And you could go into something and think negatively the entire time, but why do that when you could think positively? And like you said, you could gain from it. So now, after graduation from Parris Island, what was next? What was your job title? What was your MOS?
My MOS was 0311 Infantry. I finished Parris Island. I went to Camp Lejeune. Actually, I went to Camp Geiger first for the School of Infantry, and then I went to Camp Lejeune with 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines for my first duty station.
Wow. Now, if you could go into a little bit more detail with what that job entails, what were you training for? What kind of training did you go through?
I mean, it's just your typical. You go to the field, you do your field evolutions, you do your weapons qualifications, you do your land navigation. You just become the best Marine that you can be in different environments. Whether it's desert, whether it's jungle. You might go in the field for a week at a time. You might go in the field for a couple weeks at a time. You really don't know what's going to get thrown at you, but it's a lot of studying. And when I went on my first deployment to Okinawa, Japan, that's when I fell in love with fitness, which is when things like very drastically changed for me in terms of the way my Marine Corps career would go.
Now, your first deployment, what was going through your head? When you found out that you were going to Japan. Had you ever been out of the country before?
No, I've never been out of the country, and I was looking forward to it. I was kind of fascinated by it because I just disconnected with the rest of the world, and my world now was the Marine Corps. So I was open to, all the opportunities and all the challenges that would come. So it was exciting for me.
Now, when you said that, that first deployment to Japan, that it would later on change your career in the Marine Corps and also inspire you with bodybuilding, why do you say that, if you could go into detail?
So let's see, the best way to describe this, and military people listening to this, or families, whatever, will understand that when you're deployed, depending on where you are, there's not a whole lot to do besides PT and enjoying your evening and afternoon beverages. So you can either chill and relax, have fun, drink, maybe party a little bit, or you can be a PT stud. So for me, because I'm not a drinker, I'm not a partier, I don't like that lifestyle. For me, it was easy. I started to train twice a day, and there was a gym on base, and I fell in love with fitness, got bit by the bug, and started reading the magazine. This was when Muscle Tech was big, supplement company, so I was taking all the Muscle Tech stuff, and my body started to change. I was getting muscular, and I was getting stronger, and just the discipline and the dedication of that on top of the Marine Corps just molded me. And, fitness in the Marine Corps just became this huge part of my life that even still today is very, very prevalent.
Now, did you ever have any influence with bodybuilding and fitness before joining the Marines, as a kid? I mean, I know for me, watching my dad first show me this movie, Predator, 1985 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's one of the best movies I feel like ever. Did you ever have any influence before joining the Marines to be so geared towards fitness?
In high school, I kind of dabbled. I dabbled in weights a little bit. I played some sports. I played football. I lifted weights with no structure and no routine, no discipline. I was working at Subway, the sandwich restaurant, as a relatively young kid. And down the street from the gym, I started working out. I started going to this gym. I was a freshman in high school. And I remember seeing this one bodybuilder in there. His name was Lee Apperson. And I was like, damn, I've never seen someone look like this before in person. And I just had this idea in the back of my head that, I would love to figure out how he did that, because I like that look and that's what I want to look like. So that image kind of stayed with me, but I didn't really do anything with it until that deployment to Okinawa, and then things started to click for me with fitness coming together. And another inspiration for me, obviously, was Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he's just kind of an iconic guy, and just the physique, still to this day, I feel like is unmatched.
I completely agree. He's I grew up watching him and Pumping Iron and everything, and he's just he's a motivation. Watching that is just a motivation to go out and want to lift weights and participate in any type of physical activity. Now,
Right.
I'm also aware. I read that you served in Iraq as well.
Yeah, this is where things get a little bit cloudy with my career because the trajectory for me changed, and the career that I ended up having in the Marine Corps was something that 99.9% of other Marines don't have. When I left Okinawa, came back to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, I was actually getting ready. I was preparing to go to squad leader school, and I had orders cut to go to Washington, D.C. to be a part of this group called the Marine Body Bearers. They're the pallbearers for the Marine Corps. It's a 15 to 20 man section, and they're tasked out by headquarters of Marine Corps to do funerals out of Arlington National Cemetery, but also travel abroad. So when I got to D.C., this new career started for me. I had to start from scratch, go through this drill school. I had to put on a bunch of weight. I was at the time when I checked in, I was 190, and I just started eating around the clock. So anyway, to answer the question without going into too much other detail, I did not serve in combat in Iraq. My time in Iraq more was traveling with the Joint Staff when I was with General Pace doing security. And then as I got out of the Marine Corps from General Pace, I spent most of my time as a contractor doing a mission at the time that was primarily classified because it was all identity management.
Understandable. Now, when you got selected to hold that part of the career as a Marine, what was that? I'm sure that was a great honor. What was that like?
For the body bearers, it's very prestigious, and when I talk about it today, most people get sad and they wonder how I did it. It seems so somber, but to be honest with you, for me, I went there, ended up being one of the guys, and then became the section leader. So the Marine Corps body bearers will always have a very special place in my heart because of the camaraderie that we had. But also, when you're doing a funeral for someone who's passed away, whether they're a veteran or they were killed in action or retired, whatever the case may be, you're the last image that a family is going to see of their loved one. And I took that to heart out of all the funerals that I did. So you're not really thinking about the fact that you're doing a funeral. You're thinking about making sure that you're laying this Marine to rest with as much dignity and respect as possible, and to make the family proud and to show them how much we love our brothers and sisters. So it was, that's the way I approach that job every day.
Of course, and that I would see nothing less than that. Is an amazing title to hold, and God bless you. And I mean again I say all members of the military, the Marines, it's what you guys do for the country is amazing. It really does take a special person to do what you guys do. Now, I know you said you're not able to go in too much detail, which I completely understand, but participating as private security for General Pace, what was that like, if you're able to share, on how you did get selected for that?
It was a buddy of mine at the time, another Marine that I knew, was his security. He was getting ready to re-enlist, but also go into his next duty. So I was pulled in as a possible replacement, and I'll never forget what it was like the day I dressed up in my Charlies and showed up at the Pentagon as a sergeant and walked over to General Pace's door and knocked on it, and it's like there was a flood of thoughts that went through my mind, because here I am now, a sergeant in the Marine Corps at the Pentagon, getting ready to be interviewed by one of the highest ranking men in the military under the president. And, just thinking about that and thinking about where I came from, being that kid who almost died in 7th grade, and being that guy who just had no respect for authority and, was more worried about reputation, and, a lot of things went through my head. But anyway, it was a very humbling experience to walk in there. And once I got selected for the job, I had to go through, several months of specialized training, for, driving and weapons and close-in protection and stuff like that. So I learned a lot about personal security, but we just became very close. And to this day, General Pace and Mrs. Pace and everyone, they're still very close to me, and I keep in touch with them, and I consider them part of my extended family. So it was one of the greatest opportunities I've ever had, because I learned so much from him about the military and about just, being a man in life, and, showing respect to the military, or, from our past warriors up until now. It's just very, very surreal, very surreal.
Yes, and now I'm a huge military supporter and idolizer of all members of the military. Like I said before, what you guys do is amazing. You risk your lives for the country and to protect everyone in the country. And I feel like, not so much as it is neglected, especially now with, the new commander-in-chief, which is great, that it's full force idolization to the members of the military. Now, do you feel that the military is something that everybody should not necessarily want to do, but if they have it in the back of their head, do you feel that it is something that they should go for because they might regret it if they don't?
I mean, I don't really know. I just feel the way society is right now, there's a we're becoming more soft, and I think for a lot of people, their interpretation of the military is a little bit skewed. But I feel like if the opportunity is there, there's a door open for someone to make an impact and do something bigger than themselves. I would encourage it highly, because not only are there great benefits from it, and you make amazing friends and you can make an impact by serving your country, but it's just an honorable thing to do. You know what I mean? When you just say it, serve your country. I just feel like there's a disconnect in that area right now with with our younger generation coming up. And I just a lot of my work right now is trying to emphasize the importance of the military and how much it means, and how much we do and how much we go through and how much the families go through. And there's this the disconnect with the military is frustrating at times, because I don't think people can fathom the thought of just what if we didn't have a military? How secure would the U.S. be? Where would things be in the United States as a country without a military? It's overlooked too much. So that's why I do what I do.
And that's amazing, and I completely agree with you. Exactly. Where would the country be if there wasn't a military, let alone the strongest military in the world? America's military is great, and it's amazing. And I feel that, I completely agree that that's the issue with what's going on. And I'm only 21 years old, but, just being brought up, my grandfather served in the Navy, just being brought up like that, I couldn't agree more that I do feel that the country has gone soft. And I feel like that's the biggest problem, because when people continue to neglect an issue or something that they may be facing, and then get, to say a free handout for something, or, some other form of, accommodation, it really doesn't make much sense to me.
Yep. It's just very different. It's very different times right now, and I just pray that we can adapt to the times and still maintain the integrity that I feel like the military has to maintain. And like you said, we're one of the we're the powerhouse of the world when it comes to the military. So it's we have this responsibility to uphold that. A lot of countries, nations, whatever, they rely on our strength, and it's important.
Of course. Now, to fast forward a little bit, after retiring from the Marine Corps, well, I know you never retire from the Marine Corps. I do know that you guys say once a Marine, always a Marine. But after leaving that job title, what was next for you?
I went overseas to Iraq as a contractor as part of a fielding initiative for a biometric base access program, which is fingerprints and iris scans and all that stuff. It was pretty high tech at the time. It all stemmed from a bombing that happened up north in Iraq, in a chow hall where a suicide bomber killed several service members. So there was an urgent need to secure our coalition bases and facilities. So we created this biometric card that you have to put your fingerprint on it to get on base. It says who you are. You can't fudge that. So that was the beginning of what I was doing over there as part of the fielding team, and then would eventually become the country manager for the program at a young age. So it was a ton of responsibility, and I would move on from that duty and start working directly with the Iraqis on another program, which was helping them stand up their own biometric capabilities, similar to the FBI and the DoD here in the States. So I became the liaison for the U.S. and Iraq when it came to this project and these initiatives that we were doing with security and identity management, which is a huge thing, because what a lot of people don't understand is we can like these suicide bombers or these IED makers and all that. Once these bombs go off, you can still pull fingerprints from them. You can get a latent fingerprint off of it, and if you can match that, you can potentially find somebody. And we did a lot of good with it. We caught a lot of bad people, and anyway, it was a very important project that doesn't get talked about for many reasons, but it's a part of the war that you don't hear about, because it's such sensitive material.
And that's amazing that the technology being used was so advanced to where you could still detect a fingerprint or, some form of identification, or where you could go after the bad guys. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, after your time spent as a military contractor, you later did get into acting.
Yeah, the way this whole thing happened was when I left Iraq, I came to New Orleans, and there was this U.S. Northcom is the big military entity in the United States. And underneath U.S. Northcom, you have component commands, so, for each branch of service. And in New Orleans, there's Marine Forces North. And so I was going there to work with this command and help stand up one of their new cells in there for emergency management and transit security. Long story short, it didn't really go as planned. There was delays on it, funding issues and this, that, and the other. But I ended up in a really rough time because things didn't work out the way they were supposed to, or the way I had envisioned it in my mind. So I was going through this bout of uncertainty about where my life goes now, because I was struggling. I was burning through all my money. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't find work. And I didn't really know anyone in New Orleans because I had never been there before. There were a couple of Marines there that were very close to me who helped me, and I'll always be grateful for them. But I ended up falling too far behind and lost everything I had. So I went from doing all these prestigious things in the Marine Corps, being at the Pentagon and the White House and having a top secret clearance and these amazing opportunities, being around amazing people. And here I am now. I lost my house, lost my, I lost everything I had. I was living out of my car. And there was some nights, many, many, many nights where I just wanted to end it because this was my life now. This was my new life, and now I had to figure out what to do with it. I had a really hard time transitioning. And I started to do personal training because everyone had encouraged me to do it. I wanted to go back to Iraq, but they said don't. So I started personal training at this 24-hour gym in a part of New Orleans that apparently was very predominantly entertainment heavy with film people. So within a few months, I met Zac Efron coming into the gym to do a movie called The Lucky One, which is about a Marine Iraq veteran. And we hit it off. I started doing his technical advising, helping him through the film, and that was my intro into film. But before that, I had no idea the film industry was even in New Orleans and in Louisiana. And prior to that, I had no desire to ever be involved in it. It was never a dream or a goal. It was nothing.
Wow. And just to pause for a minute and comment, your story really is so amazing. Just the keep, the constant push forward and the never give up mentality. Is that something that you've always had, or is that something that you feel you gained in the Marine Corps to not stop going forward, to continue on and to keep going and to succeed?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I completely owe that to the Marine Corps and the structure it gave me. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I would, from the time I graduated boot camp on, honestly, from the time, for the first couple weeks from boot camp on, my mentality with everything I did changed. There was nothing that I couldn't accomplish, no matter what. But I hit a hiccup in this transition point in my life where, I was officially not in the military, and I was officially not in the combat environment anymore. So it was very weird because dealing with normal people was not something that I was used to doing. Everything was just very military centric to me. So I was learning a lot, and but at the same time, I knew I could not give up. I knew I couldn't take the easy route, whether I wanted to end my life, whether I wanted to go back to Iraq. It's like there's a responsibility you have when you come back home and you're still able to live and you're healthy and you have all your limbs, because a lot of people come back and they don't have that, and a lot of people just don't come back. So it weighs on me very heavily. When you lose people you're close with over there and you come back, it's something that never leaves your mind. And that alone is a huge source of motivation and inspiration for me to do the best I can at absolutely everything that I do in my life.
Now, when you first started working in film, what was that like? Interacting with celebrities and working on film set, that had to be that had to be crazy. It had to be one amazing, wild experience.
I guess the word that I'll use is interesting, because
Okay.
it's not. I'm never starstruck. Within the first year of me being in the business, I was working with Sylvester Stallone and The Rock and just some of the biggest names, and the experience was really cool. I really enjoyed it. It gave me a lot of insight into the industry, but at the end of the day, man, they're normal people like everyone else. Just because you're on TV doesn't make you some god. You know what I mean? Just because you have $1 zillion doesn't make you better than someone else. So it's just an opportunity to work with people who have the ability to impact the world. And that was I was like a sponge during the time as I kept working with these actors and producers and directors. I just realized, wow, if I can keep this going, I can truly make a huge difference in my efforts and what I would like to do. So, and not only that, acting for me became this huge therapeutic outlet because of my childhood and the stuff I went through overseas. You're able to use these repressed emotions that you would never touch otherwise. And if you did touch them, you would have to drink or do something to ease the pain of the memory and the thought. So for me, acting became a blessing too. So it was like this win-win for me. And, here I am now in Los Angeles and Hollywood, and I'm still doing my thing. And this year's, a big year for me here, because this is the first time I'm really situated and have somewhat of an established name now in what I'm doing.
Of course. Now, did you ever have shocking moment where you just paused for a second? I mean, I know you said you never do get starstruck, but did you ever just think to yourself, wow, look where I've came from, and look at the amazing journey that I've been on as to where I am right now? Did it ever seem, unimaginable?
Yeah. So that moment for me was, I was training the cast for Terminator Genesis, and I was also cast to play the refugee Terminator. So I'll never forget the day where I was on set. I'm with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm playing a Terminator. I mean, because the thought that went through my mind was just remembering before my life kind of fell apart. It was in elementary school, and I used to watch Terminator all the time. And I remember sitting, very, very vividly, I remember sitting in in the family room in the back of my house with my dad and brother, just watching Terminator all the time. And, here I am now on set playing a Terminator with Schwarzenegger. So it was kind of my big moment so far.
Wow. And that's, amazing in itself. I mean, just growing up as a kid, watching your dad, how you said your dad and brother, watching Terminator on TV, and you had no idea that later on in life, you would be on that same set.
Yep.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing. Now, if you have any words of advice for, anyone pursuing a dream, you're obviously the man to talk to, and what would you say to any young kid or anyone at that who is in a struggle, who wants to continue their dream?
There's a kind of a lot that goes into that, but it's all about mindset, right? And there's a difference between people who are successful and people who just live life, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, in order to achieve something great, it's going to be hard. I could use some explicative language right here, but I'm not going to. But it's really, really hard. And there's going to be letdown after letdown after letdown. There's going to be people who try and hold you down. There's going to be people who try to talk you out of doing things because in their mind they can't comprehend that you might be able to do something like that, because that's only for people who are great. And what I would say is, if you really want to do something, you have to be ready to go for that ride, because it's going to be a long ride. And there are going to be times where you're going to be alone. You're going to be very lonely. You might not have anything. You might lose everything. You might be on rock bottom, questioning how you're going to get out. But it's just that continued mindset of knowing that it's just another obstacle, that you'll be able to pull your way out of it, and to stay positive on the goal. And as the cliche saying goes, if it was easy, everyone would do it. There's this.
I love that saying too. That's a great saying. If it's easy, everyone would do it. That's an amazing saying.
Yeah, and it's just, if you can. It's all mental, man. It's really all mental. But at the same time, you have to be able to sacrifice. Like for me, I've sacrificed more than I can even put into words. I don't drink, I don't go out, I don't party, I don't go home to my family. I've missed birthdays, I've missed funerals, I've missed weddings, I've missed, you name it, I've missed it, because I'm so locked into what I'm doing. And, some people will say, oh, it's not healthy, that's not right, you're, this, that, the other, but it'll all make sense once the day comes, and I can leave my mark on the world, and I can make an impact like I want to do. And, it took my family a while to understand that, but they understand it now, and they support what I'm doing. And that's really what it comes down to, is you just have to believe in yourself, and that's it. Like, you have to just believe in yourself, whether anyone else does, and you have to come up with your own game plan for it. And it's really just staying consistent and true to who you are.
Of course. And I feel that, just from what you've said, that staying true to yourself and knowing what you want to do, is that also go, in connection with, doing something because you love doing it more so than because you might get paid, how you said, X amount of dollars, doing something truly because you believe in it and you love doing it?
Yeah, if you're doing it for false reasons, if it's just for material things or money, then it's going to be, in my personal opinion, I feel like it's going to be short-lived, and you're going to run into an end of your journey very quickly, because there's no substance to what you're doing. If you're not giving back, and if you're not helping to change other people's lives, and if you're not open to helping others as you're going along your journey, then you're on a fake road. That's, like I say, it's going to be very short-lived. You have to do it because you truly love to do it, whether you're getting paid a lot of money or not. The money is going to come at the end, but the journey to get to that point, you have to be in it because you love to do it.
Now, before we do sign off, I do have a couple more questions. One being, what are your thoughts on President Trump's plan to increase the military? I'm sure that you're, was very happy to see General Mattis, take office. I'm sure that was awesome for you to see when that happened as well.
Yeah, one thing I don't get involved in is politics.
Okay.
I learned that when I was in D.C. I have my own views on everything. When it comes to politics, I keep all that to myself. The only thing I'll answer on that is just, I just hope that we can keep moving forward and not backwards. I'm very happy to see that our military is going to possibly get a second wind, but I'm not going to talk too much more to that. I mean, it's too touchy of a subject for me, and I don't, like I say, when it comes to politics, it's not something that I really want to be involved in. I just do what I do, and that's it.
Completely understandable, sir. Now, I also wanted to ask, any big news coming up for you ahead? Is there anything ahead?
There's a lot ahead. I just don't know exactly what it is yet. I'll have a movie coming out at the end of this year in December called Bright. It's David Ayer's new movie with Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. The character I play in that is pretty cool. 3 hours of prosthetic makeup every day prior to filming, so that an hour to get it, 3 hours to get it on, an hour to get it off. One of the most extensive projects I've worked on yet. There's a couple TV shows coming up that I'll be a part of, and I'm doing a lot of. I actually start hitting some of the military bases on the West Coast here in the middle of this month for the supplement company BPI Sports that I'm with. We're trying to do a lot of work with the military right now. So on the 18th, I'll hit the naval base in San Diego. At the end of the month, I'll be going out to Camp Pendleton, and then we'll figure out the schedule the next month and on and on. But I try and keep everyone up to date as much as I can on my social media. And, as long as the questions aren't, I like to be interactive on my social media, but I don't like getting messages like, sup, bro. So if you say something like that, I'm probably not going to answer you. But if you want to have a legitimate question, I'll answer it for sure. But, that's put it this way, man, every day is something new. I never know what each week is going to hold. So I just know that this year is a big year, and there's a lot of stuff in the making right now. My manager and my agents are working on some great stuff, and I have some partners who I'm working with on some other shows, and it's good, man. It's really good.
Well, Aaron, I want to say thank you so much, for your service to the country, for what you're doing now, and, you're an American hero, an American patriot, sir. It was an honor to speak with you, and I've learned so much from you, and I know the listeners have as well, including do not message you, sup, bro. That is a big no-no.
and it's not even what's up, bro. It's SUP, sup, bro.
Yeah, I'm sure you get thousands of them a day. I'm sure they come like none other.
Yeah, that'll get deleted before I even look at it.
Oh, that's funny. That's too funny. But, other than that, thank you so much for being on Patriots Corner Podcast. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your service to the country. God bless you. God bless, the members of the military. We're here because of what you guys do. And I'm a true believer in that, and I always will be.
It's awesome, man. I appreciate it. It was a great podcast with you, and good luck with everything you're doing with it. This is great what you're doing right now, giving veterans and whoever else you bring on your show, kind of give your listeners an insight into different areas of the military, and it's very cool, man. I hope you keep it up.
Thank you, and that is the sole reason that I do it, because I do feel that there is no better person, all political stuff aside, there is no better person to hear from than an actual member of the military. And that's why, I like to do what I do, is because I feel that the opportunity to listen to what you guys have to say is amazing. And it is the truth, which is so fantastic. And I couldn't be more happy than to have had you on the show, Aaron. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And one of the other things for your listeners, to kind of finish this off, as a veteran, as someone who served in the military, and to all the military personnel now, the service members now, and the families, we enlist and we go wherever they tell us to go, whether we like it or not. And that's something that I want a lot of people to understand and remember, especially, for example, Vietnam, the Afghanistan-Iraq war, we go there not because we want to go there. Maybe some people want to go there, but we go there because we're told to go there. And we know when we signed up that there's a possibility that we might get put into harm's way. So, you know, occasionally I'll come across these different news outlets or media posts or whatever, and I read the comments occasionally, and, you know, I see how a lot of times our military is just completely bashed and ran through the mud. You know, it's like,
which is horrible and should be. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. You get it. I mean, we join, we serve, we join the military. We serve our country. It's all volunteer, and we do that knowing that there's a chance. You know, worst case scenario, we're signing up to do a job that we could potentially die, and people do die. So the repercussions of that for the families and friends, you know, it's just something that I want everyone to think about and remember, that we're doing a service to our country because it's something we believe in, and I just want people to understand that point. It's not, we don't join up because we want to go kill or we want to go, you know, we want to go to war. It's not the case. We sign up and then we go where the politicians and the president tell us we're going to go, and that's why I don't get into politics. I'm just a veteran. I'm just a service member.
And God bless you for that, sir. That's, you know, you have an amazing story, and you know, the service to the country, like I said in the beginning, you know, it takes a special man and woman to do what you guys do, and you know, that's just, it's so amazing to hear from you, and you know, so much respect and honor to you. Thank you so much, Aaron.
All right, Matt. Well, thanks a lot, and you have a good one, man. Good luck with everything.
You too, sir. Take care. That was just Aaron Williamson. It was amazing to speak with him. He has an amazing journey. So I'd like to say God bless you, Aaron. God bless all members in the military, and God bless all the American patriots. You know, this was an amazing podcast, and we got more to come. So thank you so much for listening to Patriots Corner Podcasts, and keep updated because we got more to come. So thank you, Aaron. Shout out to you, and good luck with everything, and thank you so much for being on the show. All right, this is DJ host Matt for Patriots Corner Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned. Take care.